How compatible are you with your partner? Let's find out. Are you and your partner compatible? Let's find out in this video. I'm your host, Venus O'Hara, and I'll be accompanying you on this pathway to pleasure. So let's talk about it. Compatibility. Are you and your partner compatible? And what does that really mean? Is there harmony? Do opposites attract, or do you have to have some kind of similarity to get along? I have a friend who said to me once that relationships are based on three things, well, for him anyway, and he said those three things are physical attraction, emotional connection, and good sex. That sounds pretty good, especially at the beginning of a relationship, at the beginning when there's the dating phase, you're getting to know each other. Those three things can be very important. But as time goes on, you're going to need more than those three things, a lot more, in order to actually have a long-lasting, successful, and happy relationship. When I say successful, I think people often confuse a successful relationship, a relationship that actually lasts a long time. For me, I think a successful relationship is a relationship that is fulfilling. Lasting a long time is not an indication of happiness. I think relationships should last as long as they make you happy. But before things get very, very serious, it's kind of a good idea to check in with your partner and see if you are on the same page. And how can you do that? What is important? I think it's important for you both individually to work out what you want from this relationship and what you want from life itself. I spoke to a relationship coach once, and he said to me, the most important thing in a relationship, a long-lasting relationship or a marriage, is blendable lifestyles. What does blendable lifestyles mean? Well, it could refer to many things. For example, are you living in the same city? Do you have similar interests? Will your friends and family and social circles be able to harmonize? Will you get on with their people, and will they get on with yours? And what else? Also, I think it's important, your work hours. I remember I was seeing a guy once who used to get up at 5 a.m, and that made things quite difficult for us because he was always tired in the evening when I was more alive. So there are many different things that can actually influence how blendable our lifestyles are. But let's start with sex. Sex is a very important part of a relationship, but sex is not just about the physical act of penetration, it's much more than that. I would say something that's more important than sex is actually physical intimacy, and that can be things like kissing and hugging, snuggling, and I think it's good to be on the same page with that. For example, checking in with each other about what kind of sex you would like, how often you would like it, and what you would like to explore together. And another thing that kind of is related to sexuality is what kind of relationship would you like to have? Would you like to be exclusive and monogamous, or are you monogamish, where you might be open to a little bit of experimentation? Or perhaps you would like an open relationship. That is so important. It might seem like an understatement, but I know so many people who are not on the same page with this. There's one partner who wants to be monogamous, but the other one wants to play away from time to time, without telling their partner as well, which is not cool. Whatever relationship style you do prefer, it's so important to actually communicate this to your partner and make sure you are both making informed decisions about the type of relationship that you are creating together. One tool that I absolutely love, this comes from a couple called Molly Apple and Joe Dunn, and they are relationship coaches, and they've been together for a very long time. And even though the title is Wild Monogamy, the tips in this book could apply to any type of relationships, any type of relationship. In particular, there is something at the beginning of the book, and it's called the Intimacy Inquiry. This is, I think it's about 5 pages, and you can really discuss this with your partner at any stage of the relationship, preferably at the beginning when you're getting to know each other, so you can actually make those informed decisions, because perhaps going through these questions you might uncover something that's very incompatible. For example, imagine your partner doesn't believe in monogamy and you do. That could be a real red flag. So in this intimacy inquiry, there are questions related to love, intimacy, emotions, and also monogamy, personal space and time, agreements, and relationships with former partners, friendships, affection with others, nudity, conversations about sex. It's really important to be on the same page with all of these topics. I'm not going to spoil it for you because this book is really good. So if you would like to think about, or if you are looking to keep the spark alive in a long-term relationship, this book is amazing. It's also good to read this at the beginning of a relationship just to make sure that you have the tools in place so when time goes by, you can resort to your amazing tools for communication, intimacy, or wild non-monogamy as you wish. One of the most important things I think is, do you have the same values? I didn't really realize how important values were until pretty recently, actually. What is a value? It's something that you hold important. They don't always have to be the same thing, but it's important that these things are not incompatible, especially if it's a core value. I once spoke to a woman who was a divorce lawyer, and she said that after her experience of 20 years as a divorce lawyer, the main cause of divorce was actually the incompatibility of core values. So if you value something, let's say health and fitness, and your partner is the absolute opposite, that's going to create some tension. Or maybe you value learning and self-development and exploration, whereas your partner is more conservative and they want to just do the same thing over and over again. That could definitely be a cause of frustration and tension. Something I've seen that really causes a lot of tension in some relationships that I've seen around me is when the person doesn't get on with their partner's family and friends. That can cause so much, how can I say it? So much discomfort and tension, oh my God. And it's something that's very difficult to address, and some people may not be able to actually overcome that obstacle. It's really hard, oh my God. I remember sometimes in the past when I've broken up with people and I've thought, thank God I don't have to see his mother again. You know, it's kind of a bit of a relief really. Or perhaps you don't like their friends. That can be quite hard. But if you're in a situation like that, I think it's good to come to some agreement about how often you're expected to spend time with those people that you don't really like that much. Something that I think is super important in a relationship for long-lasting relationship compatibility is the question of growth. Are you willing to grow? Is your partner willing to grow with you? Because what happens when two people come together, this third entity emerges. It's the relationship. And many people just expect the relationship to flow and things to be easy. And when it doesn't, it's not like that, then people want to run and think, oh my God, it's your fault. It's not working. But it's important to actually both be committed to the growth of the relationship. And how can you do that? I think there are many fun ways to do that, such as having regular check-ins, time where you are having, let's say maybe a date night, but also a night where you are really asking each other questions and seeing how happy you are. Also exploring the areas of improvement and areas in the relationship where you're not entirely happy and what can be done to improve that. When you're having these types of conversations, it's really important to have some kind of diplomatic language. Some people are very sensitive with words, others are not. But I think it's also good to not blame the other person for things that are not quite right or things that you're not happy about. I think it's good to have a kind of neutral approach and realize that you and your partner are a unit and the problem is the enemy. I think that's a really good tip that I read in a book. I think it was by Jay Shetty, The 8 Rules of Love. And he talked about when you are having these types of discussions, to not be sitting opposite each other as if you are in opposition, actually sitting together, thinking of the problem as the external enemy that needs to be improved or resolved. Recently, I read a book called A Soulful Marriage. Oh my God, what an amazing book by Dr. Rachel Glick. And in it, she talks about conflict and how to leverage conflict to create greater closeness. And I'm really someone who believes that conflict can be a good thing as long as it's not toxic. Conflict is an opportunity for more connection, more depth, and definitely more closeness and growth. And you must have a healthy way of approaching conflict. And in her book, A Soulful Marriage, she talks about creating a conflict constitution. And a conflict constitution is actually an agreement about how you're going to handle conflict. and understanding what are the triggers for the other person. For example, are you someone who wants to sort things out straight away, or do you want to wait for a while? I mean, for example, for me, I don't like to go to bed with there being some kind of conflict in the air. I like to sort things out as soon as possible so that we can get to a place of peace and sleep peacefully. Otherwise, I'm like, oh my God, I just can't sleep. My head will not switch off. Whereas other people prefer to have a good night's sleep and then be well rested and approach the problem. Some people are triggered by someone's voice being raised. So it's really a question of thinking about how do you want to approach times of conflict? What language are you going to use? What is a red flag? What is a trigger for you? And then obviously you have to respect that, even in the moments of heated frustration. And that can be hard, but if you believe in the relationship, it's so worth it. Also, I think it's important to mention that we are always growing and evolving as individuals. Sometimes you might not always grow in the same direction. You might not always have the same values throughout life, but the question is, can you work with what you've got? And do you want to work with what you've got? Sometimes, relationships can, encounter difficulties where you might want to finish the relationship or end the relationship. That could be a phase, or it could be actually the end. I think it's about analysing whether the reward is worth the effort. And when you have areas of incompatibility, how are you going to approach those things? For example, imagine if someone wants to go to the beach and the other person wants to go to the mountains. How are you going to have your holiday time? Would you be okay with going alone, going with friends? I think it's also necessary to understand that your partner is not the answer to everything. And sometimes we have to look within ourselves for the things to satisfy us, to create emotional regulation, or even maybe some hobbies that you can enjoy with a friend. And you don't have to enjoy everything with your partner. Your partner's not the answer, the solution to everything that you need in life. It's good to be self-reliant and also to have other people in your life where you can get these things from. Other people in your life that can provide other things for you, because it's not healthy just to be with one person all the time anyway. It's good to have some variety so you've got something to talk about at least. Something I think is super necessary to understand about a person is your living styles. Living styles it's not easy. I've had so many flatmates over the years, and I've had friends, this is nothing romantic, where I've really adored a person, then we become flatmates, and oh my God, you see a different side of someone when you start living with them. And then suddenly the friendship becomes toxic because maybe one person's messy, the other one isn't, maybe someone is noisy, the other one isn't. It's all about respect and working things out and finding some kind of compromise. And when it's your partner, that can be really difficult, especially if someone's messy. I know for me, I'm the messy one usually. But when I've been living with people, I always try to be a little bit tidier than I would be when I'm alone, because I know how annoying that can be, especially if someone spent a long time cleaning up and then suddenly, they're cleaning up after you. It's really awful. And that can really kill libido as well. So many people have this complaint about being a kind of getting stuck in domestic tasks and then the partner not really acknowledging when those things need to be taken care of. And then that really does have a terrible effect on intimacy, which has an effect on connection and satisfaction in a relationship. So it's always best to work out how you are going to live together in a way that's going to be harmonious. And if something's not working, definitely go back to that conflict constitution and work it out in a way that's going to be productive for both of you. After all of the things that we've discussed, I think the foundation of any relationship should be mutual desire, both wanting each other and wanting the relationship. That for me is the most important thing. I believe that once you have that in place, then everything can be worked out, more or less. Yeah, everything can be worked out as long as you want that person, you respect that person, there's mutual desire, mutual respect, love. So do you have any tips for us about relationship compatibility? What's working for you? And let us know what isn't working as well so we can all learn. Thanks for watching, and you can find our products on our website, tracysdog.com, or on Amazon.